Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This episode is The Haunting of Rick. Before we get into it, we just want to mention Patreon. Uh, if you decide to support the channel on Patreon, you'll get advanced videos without commercials on Sunday, and there's an email where we can talk back and forth, and you can share your experiences, and I can easily give you my feedback. We've got some new supporters of Astral Club. We have James Drzaga, Drzazga, Astral Ascended. Thank you, James. ML Crisis is an Astral Scout, and Zai Chavo is an Astral Master. I want to thank all of these wonderful people for helping to support this channel. If you're interested, there'll be a link in the description. And if you'd like some lessons, some private lessons for astral projection, be glad to help you out. And you'll find a link, rather an email in the description where you can ask for more information. Okay, let's get into the episode here. Well, it is the Halloween season, isn't it? So I've decided over the next couple Saturdays to share some of the Halloweeny type experiences that I've had during my long career in astral projection. The first involves myself when I was 12 years old. Now, that would be about seventh grade here in the United States. So I'm just beginning to enter puberty here, but I'm still extremely inexperienced and only have a basic idea of what's going on. And I had a little girlfriend at that age. I think we held hands. I gave her a kiss once or twice. That was pretty much the extent of my experience and knowledge of the opposite sex. Uh, I astral projected on one particular night, and I found myself drawn to the sketchy part of town. And as I just kind of floated around, I saw a number of earthbound spirits. And you can always tell because they have a certain look about them. Uh, they're no longer connected, of course, by their astral cord, but they just have this. I don't know how to say it. It's kind of this heavy feeling around them, and you can just tell that they're earthbound. So I decided to land and engage in conversation. And I went up to one particular woman and I asked her name, and she said her name was Sharon. Now, Sharon looked to be between 18 and 20 years old. She was I guess the old fashioned term is a buxom blonde. So she was a healthy girl from that standpoint. And I was very much entranced in speaking with her. And she asked me who I was and what I was because she could tell that I was still alive. And she'd seen some what I call sleepwalkers, but obviously I was not one of those because I was having this conversation with her. And I wanted to know, what had happened to her, why she was here. And she said that, she worked with clients on the street and that she had sex with these clients for money. I asked her what happened to her that she is now deceased. She said that she had had an argument with her boyfriend, she called it, and that he had stabbed her in the heart. And she showed me her chest area, and it certainly was very interesting to me. But what certainly was not very interesting to me was this red hole that was in her body. and it was quite obvious that she had been stabbed in the heart, and that's how she had died. She started asking me how old I was, and did I like girls, and did I like her. And sure, I said yes. You seem nice, and I'll be honest, I was definitely attracted. I mean, what like I said, I was on that puberty edge there, and certainly a woman like that speaking with me, and she was scantily dressed as well for someone who works the night life. uh, and she said, "Well, let me introduce you to one of my friends, and we can talk together." And so she walked me a bit down the street and introduced me to Cindy. Now, Cindy was very different from her. Cindy was a brunette, very thin. She had this stringy hair, long hair, and kind of like the hair they had in the early 70s, where everyone was wearing their hair really long and pressed straight. That was her. She was very thin, very unhealthy looking. And when I started talking with her, she was very shy. And Sharon did most of the talking. And I said, what happened to her? And Sharon said, oh, well, she was, injecting some smack, and she OD'd. Neither of which term made a lot of sense to me. I mean, when I heard smacks, I heard smack. I heard like sugar smacks. That's I was 12 years old, a suburban boy. Give me a break. And so I said, well, I'm sorry, because I eventually she explained to me that no, it was a drug, and that she died because she had too much of it. I got that. Anyway, Cindy just started hanging behind Sharon, and Sharon was doing all of the talking. I was getting ready to return to my body, and I asked them, did they have a home to go to now? And they said no, they didn't have a home. And then they kind of just looked at me expectantly. Now, I could kick myself for what I did next now. But try to give me a break. I was a 12-year-old young boy on the verge of this burgeoning manhood. Part of me felt sorry for them and wanted to help them. And then there was another part of me that had a definite attraction to this Sharon. And so I said, hey, well, if you don't have a home, why don't you come and stay with me for a while? Well, they were overjoyed at that invitation. And so we all returned to my room, where I integrated with my body. Didn't hear any more from them for a few nights, until one night I was starting to fall asleep when I heard Sharon, Rick, Rick, are you asleep? I said, no. What do you want? She said, leave your body. We can go and have fun. Well, I mean, I didn't see any reason why not. And I was up for a little fun. So, I left my body, and we went alone again, and back to that same area of town, the very, very sketchy area of town. I asked Sharon, what do you want to do here? She said, well, let me show you the sights, and I'll show you what goes on here. And so she led along. Cindy just kind of tailed along, and Sharon took me over to this car that was parked over in an alley. And when we went over there, I saw this older gentleman who looked at first like he was sleeping because he had his eyes closed. But then I noticed that he was not alone in the car. And there was a young woman in there with him who was hunched over, I guess I could say, and her head resting in his lap. And what I saw going on there definitely was something that I had not seen before. And I'll be honest, it was odd, but it was also oddly interesting to me. It it definitely though made me feel a certain way, and my vibratory level started dropping pretty precipitously, and I was feeling very heavy and very dense, and and because of this, I started feeling pulled back to my body. So, bam, I went back and awakened and just tried to make sense of what I had just seen. I definitely felt very odd, but I also felt that hey, I'm getting to see a whole other area of society, so I guess this is oddly educational. That next night, I was a little tired because I'd lost some sleep, not only because of the astral projection, but because I had lain awake thinking about what I'd seen, and I could feel Sharon and her presence, and also Cindy to a certain extent, but I couldn't hear them or anything. So I just kind of laid awake for a while, didn't get much sleep. The next night, I decided that I wasn't going to astral project, that I was going to get some sleep this time. So started falling asleep, and I think I actually did fall asleep when I was awakened again, this time again by Sharon. Rick, Rick, are you awake? And I was a little irritated, so I said, yes, now. And of course, she then said, leave your body. We can go out and have some fun. And I said, no, I want to sleep tonight. I'm very tired. And then she said, oh, no, no, we can have such fun. Don't you like me? Look at me. Look, don't you like to touch me? Look at me on top. Look at me in the bottom. Don't you want to touch me? I could touch you like that woman in the car was. Now, all of this started churning around in my mind. But at the same time, you know, when I was with my girlfriend, it kind of felt neat and new and clean. But now it felt slimy, dirty. And I was trying to get some sleep. So I just said, no, no, I'm going to get some sleep. And I then tried, but periodically throughout the night, I would hear Sharon speaking to me in that odd, eerie whisper over and over again. We could have such fun. We could have such fun. And I just tried to put my pillow around my ears, but it didn't work because the voice was coming from inside my head. It was telepathy. And I started thinking that perhaps I had made a major mistake. Nowadays I would probably say that I allowed the wrong brain to do my thinking for me, and it got me, as it so often does with many men, got me into trouble and got me in a situation which was going to be somewhat difficult to get out. This occurred now for a number of nights afterwards, and I was getting very tired. I was drifting in and out of sleep. There would be times when Sharon would be whispering. And I could always sense Cindy in the background too. She was kind of like this floating presence. She didn't talk, but you could sense her kind of fading in and out. And once or twice, Sharon would say when I didn't respond to her sexual invitations, she'd talk about Cindy could take us somewhere, and we can feel what it's like, to take that smack that she was talking about. And I definitely wasn't interested in that. I didn't know much about drugs, but I knew that they were not good for you, and that was not something that I wanted to get involved in. But she did try on several occasions that, oh, I'll take you where you can buy some of those drugs when you're back in your body again, and then you can use them, and then we can all have fun together. I definitely wasn't buying in on that, but she would talk about that as well as her other invitations. Uh, I was getting more and more tired, falling asleep in class, and I knew I had to do something. Luckily, right around this time, a couple things happened. The Exorcist movie came out. And if you haven't seen that movie, unless you're someone who's really sensitive, it's definitely interesting. And it featured Linda Blair, who was this young girl who was possessed by a demonic spirit, and that she went through an exorcism process. It was actually based on a true story of a young boy who suffered possession and went through a Roman Catholic exorcism. So there was some truth to this. Now, watching all of this, I learned quite a bit. I learned that reading the Bible, for instance, could expel entities. And right about the same time, as I recall, I was in a church, and the minister talked about the episode where Jesus expelled the demons from the demoniac and sent them into the swine herd. So all of this started cooking around my very tired mind, and I had decided that I was going to ask them to leave. And if that didn't work, I was going to take more concrete methods to get rid of them. So that next night or so afterwards, I decided to read the Bible before I went to bed. And it took a while. I actually got some sleep that night, as I recall now that I think about it. But it was the next night when Sharon's voice chimed in again, and she was very angry at me, and she just called me awful names, which I'm not going to repeat here, but it had to do with my mother and calling me a lot of very degrading names. She had quite a mouth on her. I told her to shut up and that she and Cindy would leave. And she started cursing me out even worse. So I got up out of my bed, grabbed the Bible, and started reading Psalm 23. That's the one where the Lord is my shepherd. Shall not want that one. And that caused quite a bit of distress. Cindy just melted away immediately. Sharon, at first, got extraordinarily agitated, and the voice in my head started getting painfully loud as I read more and more into the psalm. And then when I was finished, I started over again. And then her voice started getting more and more quiet. And then I commanded her in the name of Jesus, as I saw on the movie The Exorcist, that she and her friend Cindy should leave this house, leave me alone, and never return. And luckily, it worked. To say that I was much more cautious going forward would be an understatement. Now, I would have other experiences, but this was really the first one that I was seriously afflicted with. Well, that was the story of the haunting of Rick. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope you found it seasonal. Tis the season for these kinds of stories. If you liked that story, please hit the like button, share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already, and the vast majority of you have. Something like 75%, which is unbelievable, have subscribed. If you haven't, go ahead and do so. And of course, make sure the bell's on so you're notified when the Wednesday at 2 p.m. and the Saturday at 8:15 a.m. episodes are aired. And that's Eastern Time US or New York City time. Please, I would love your feedback, questions, comments. Have you had any similar experiences? Or what did you think about my experiences? How stupid was I? Please share your opinions. And as always, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.